Hi everyone, it's Stefania here from Rise Above Your Limits. I work as an empowerment coach and I specialized in narcissistic abuse. I now empower women that have experienced narcissistic abuse in their life to rise above their own ashes and finally access their true power, their authenticity, so that they can end up living the life that they have always dreamt of. I come from narcissistic abuse myself as a child and as an adult with toxic partners. And my conviction is that I cannot teach or empower clients anything that I haven't been through myself. And that's my truth, and that's the integrity I apply in my own practice. Coming from narcissistic abuse as a child, for me, was realizing that the identity I had to come to terms with as a young adult when I started therapy 13 years ago was tremendously shaped by the narcissistic abuse that I experienced when I was a child. Let me go through very quickly about what the narcissistic traits are, that we can absolutely recognize them as adults as we engage with people, in connections, in relationships. Narcissistic traits are first and foremost inconsistency. Narcissistic people cannot be consistent with their attention. They spend periods where they are extremely attentive, caring, loving, charming, funny, entertaining, to moments where they're absolutely avoidant, where they make us run after them to get again the source of love and attention and love bombing that they used to provide us at the real beginning of the connection. So imagine to receive that kind of love as a child can be profoundly damaging, because you experience love as a lack of love. You experience the connection with your parents as a way to conform to certain rules that they set, and you have no power or control over that. You can just be a victim with no power of choice or no power of agency over whatever is happening, because on one side you need love, and in order to get love you need to play at their own rules, and if you don't that, you lack safety, you feel abandoned, you feel rejected, you feel refused. And those attitudes create internal and deep-rooted wounds that we can only look at them when we are adults, when we can experience that some relationships don't work and keep on not working. Even if we change workplaces, we can change, houses, partners, friends, but our energy, who we are, we carry that around. So that was the kind of experience I had with myself. It's almost like I had to look for love in all the wrong places until I realized that I had to face and deal with the internal wound of lack of self-love that I was carrying inside myself. My identity, as I was telling you before, was shaped by the way the adults in my childhood treated me, by the kind of validation, acknowledgement, and or lack of acknowledgement, lack of validation, and lack of recognition I experienced in my life. So every kid in their own life, when they're little, they need to understand everything that's happening on the outside according to who they are. So everything that's happening gets taken personally. The kid doesn't have any chance because it's a white page, and every event is a chance to write a story on that page for the kid to understand who they are, how they can function and operate. So of course, if the external environment is highly dysfunctional, the child needs to implement a dysfunctional identity in order to survive, in order to make it through. So a dysfunctional identity can be a profound resource of adaptability and resilience to get through the abuses as a child. But when we are adults, we then realize that all the dysfunctional coping mechanisms are not a resource anymore. And sometimes we start a war towards those aspects of our experience simply because we cannot understand, we cannot accept them. And what I realized is that even when I landed a secure and safe relationship with my partner, I realized that those broken pieces were still with me. That lack of self-love that I experienced in my childhood that created this fear of being abandoned, fear of being excluded, fear of being refused or rejected was still with me. And with me also the beliefs that I'm not good enough, that I'm not strong enough, that I am powerless. And then from this lack of self-love, I realized that I was looking for love in all the wrong places. And that would make me so needy towards the reality on the outside. I wanted to be told that I was beautiful. I wanted to be told that I'm amazing. I wanted to be told that I was great, that I was attractive, that I was competent in whatever I was supposed to be doing. And the more these words would come to me out of neediness, the more I realized they could never, never, ever fulfill the emptiness I was already feeling within myself. So my journey through therapy in these 13 years really helped me realize that an internal wound cannot be neglected. That is true. We didn't have a choice when we were kids, when maybe our parent, one of those siblings of our siblings or a relative abused us through narcissistic abuse, by devaluing ourselves, by creating a terrain where our self-esteem and our self-worth came out completely shattered, broken, and destroyed. And that's absolutely true. We don't have a choice over those past experiences, but we can, and we have the power, we can find the power to rewrite a narrative, to rewrite an identity for us that is aligned with our true value. As kids, we are all born with tremendous gifts, with tremendous power, with an authenticity, with an internal voice that needs to be expressed, because the rest of humanity needs to hear the voice. And that's the only way for us to connect to our life purpose, to live a life that is filled with abundance, freedom, and love. But whatever we are feeling about ourselves gets mirrored on the outside, because there is only one reality that truly and definitely exists. And that is the reality that we filter through our beliefs, through our emotions, and through our internal perceptions. So if you, like me, came out or are coming out from narcissistic abuse, of course, your identity as a woman, as a man, will be of broken pieces, of impossibility, of lack of self-love, lack of self-worth. And let me tell you, it is okay. I know some relationship can be super excruciating, extremely painful, that bring us a lot of suffering. But what if we could turn that pain into a gift? What if we could transform that pain into a reason to finally fulfill the need of self-love from the inside, without screaming and asking for help on the outside, because we end up realizing that nobody on this earth can fulfill that need for us. And the reason is also why, if we ask for love on the outside from a place of need, we will receive more lack. And this is because it's part of an internal mechanism. If I mean lack of self-love, that means I'm not lovable. If I believe I'm not lovable, I can experience pain, sadness, depression. Automatically, when I ask for love on the outside, I'm going to exactly receive the currency I'm first and foremost exchanging with myself. It's also called the law of attraction, but without being too mystical or too much into quantum physics, it's a very basic principle. If I already believe deep in a deep-rooted way within myself that I'm in lack of self-love and I can't love myself, automatically I will also believe there's really nobody that can really love in the way that I need. But of course, the reaction from this deep negative emotion will always be to seek and trying to find love in all the wrong places. But the reality is that we will come back into our life feeling more broken, feeling more alone, more abandoned. But the reality is not that our partner is abandoning ourselves. We are abandoning our internal wounds. And sometimes we don't do it on purpose. Sometimes it's not easy to revisit that past pain. But it's also fundamental for us to revisit that pain, to find the courage, sometimes through therapy, to transform that pain and integrate those past traumas in a way that we can finally provide us with all the love that we haven't received as children or in past relationships, as we truly deserved and needed. So in order for us to start experiencing positive, healthy, and fulfilling relationship, we need to embody the healthy and fulfilling and satisfying relationship first and foremost with ourselves. We need to find the courage to look at ourselves in the mirror and fall in love with who we are, with our imperfections, with our broken pieces, because the reality is that if we don't do that, we will meet all those broken pieces almost like reflected back from a mirror in all the people that we encounter. On the other hand, if we learn how to integrate those broken pieces, if we learn how to bring light to all the darkest places of our personality that somehow come from past traumas, past abuses, as it happened, with myself, with my life, then it's truly there where we can revisit our pain within ourselves by having the courage to sit there with those parts that need more than ever attention, recognition, love, and validation. That's where the true transformation occurs, because then we become empowered. Then we stop looking for love in all the wrong places, because we finally realize that we can be our own providers. We can give us the love that we need, and we can let our body and our internal voice, internal guidance, tell us what we need to do. And that's exactly what happened to me when through therapy, and it took me a lot of time, but also because I guess in my cards there was the chance to become a coach, so I had to really dig deep into my pain. And I realized that pain is scary. Pain is so scary and frightening. But once I could sit down and be in tears by experiencing past traumas and learning how to do that on my own, that made me so unstoppable. That gave me hope. I realized I wasn't dying after experiencing past pain, but there was always a gift, almost like a flower coming out from that darkness. And that flower was a new sign of integration that I fulfilled within myself. That power was attention, love, and validation that I finally had the chance to give to myself. And that made me stronger. That made me believe I was able to love myself. That made me believe I was worthy. That made me believe that it wasn't my responsibility for how adults treated me as a child, but I could really have the chance to rewrite a different story, a different identity for myself that could be aligned not only with my authenticity, my authentic voice, the one I'm using right now to tell you my story and to tell you how I can empower you to walk on the same path and rediscover your truth, not the one that past abuses force you to incorporate within yourself, in your subconscious, but the true story that is true, comes out of pain, for sure, but talks about courage, talks about strength, talks about willingness to sit down with your own pain and not asking anybody on this earth to take responsibility for that pain, because you realize that the pain, unfortunately, is only yours. And the pain talks about the need of being loved for who you are, accepting yourself for who you are, but not on the mental level, not on the physical level, but first on the emotional level. Really feel the vibration of love. And trust me, I found that the biggest source of self-love in my life came out from the most painful moments I had to experience on my own, sometimes in bed, sometimes crying for hours, but letting the pain to come through my body and finally out, having the courage to give the pain a voice, to give the pain an outlet, and realizing that if I didn't do that, or if I hadn't done that, that would make me extremely needy and clingy to whatever person would be in my life, friends, partner, family members. And of course, all these people would end up running away because they couldn't carry the burden of my pain. Because when we don't experience the pain from the inside, because we neglect it, because we are scared, we tend to suppress it. But our subconscious anyway needs an outlet for this pain. So the reality is that we project that pain on the outside, make other people responsible for anything that is actually inside ourselves. So when we are needy because we are in pain, what happens is like we blame our partner. You never tell me I'm beautiful. You never tell me I'm amazing. You don't give me enough of this. You don't give me enough of that. And then we blame our friends. I called you last night. You weren't there. You abandoned me. You left me alone. And in those precise moments, we don't realize that that abandonment feeling is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Until we have that wound in the inside, there's no human being that can heal and cure the aspect from within ourselves. And it's not fair for us to ask them to do that. Of course, we have to ask for support. Of course, friends need to be there, but we also need to understand that sometimes everyone can have a bad day. And sometimes when we need something from the outside because we are neglecting an aspect from the inside, we can't expect that help or that support exactly happening or occurring in the timing that we want or we expect it to be. And that was my problem. Whenever I would feel the pain rising inside my body, I would tend to run away. I would call my partner, I would call somebody else, and maybe it would work temporarily. But there was always an element of frustration and anger that would come afterwards, because it was almost like, yes, I seeked for support, but then something is not over. It's almost like reinforcing that I cannot make it on my own. And I realized at a certain point in my journey that there were moments where I felt empowered. And those were the moments where I could heal myself from the inside, where I could look at myself and my internal wounds and be with the pain and let the pain transform me into the woman I was supposed to be. And then I would also experience moments where I could say I was less empowered, where I would feel hopeless and I would be extremely needy and clingy on the outside, pushing boundaries because I wanted to receive the love in the time where the pain was so high. And guess what? As I told you before, the currency I was exchanging with myself was lack, and what I was receiving from others was lack. And then I would play the blaming game. It's your fault. You weren't there for me. You abandoned me. You betrayed me, and so on. But then I realized that actually those moments where I could sit down with my pain and then maybe come back to the relationship and say, listen, last night I felt this and that. You weren't there for me. What happened? Then the other person could say, oh gosh, I had a bad day. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you were going through that pain. And then another moment of enlightenment, hit me, that when we are so much in pain and we deny ourselves the opportunity to deal with the pain and we blame somebody else for not having been there for us, we then realize that actually by neglecting our pain, we are neglecting ourselves the chance to see that even the other person is in pain. And it's not that one pain is less or inferior, than the other person's pain. All the pain can equally be unbearable according to our life experiences. But the more we become self-centered in the way that we take charge of our internal emotions, of our story, of our past traumas, the more we become whole, integrated human beings that are able to deal with the pain, to transform the pain, to become enlightened, to become full in our power, in our authenticity. We finally find our voice. And when we are there, we share and exchange love and compassion with ourselves, and we can finally be also there for other people's pain. And that's for me what true transformation is. I transform myself and I transform all the connections that are around me, and everything, sorry for shaking the microphone, and everything in the name of love. Acknowledging our internal wounds and sit down with the darkest place of our past experiences is for me the most amazing gift of love that we can give to ourselves. It's painful, yes. It's excruciating, yes. But that will stop us to look for love in all the wrong places. And I realized that all the time I jumped into narcissistic relationships with very toxic individuals is because I was neglecting the pain. And as I've told you many, many times, that doesn't deny that these individuals are toxic, are cruel, are damaging, are psychopath. Yes, all of that. But if I hadn't experienced these excruciating relationships, I wouldn't have been able to look at my internal wounds, because the pain out of this relationship was so high, so loud, that really forced me to look inside and say, wait a minute, yes, these people are toxic, but they are playing with parts of myself that I'm not aware of it, that I'm too scared to look at. And the moment I could finally honor those internal wounds that were somehow part of the manipulation process that narcissistic people were using against me, that were my internal power all of a sudden raised to a new frequency. That's where I could get more awareness between being empowered and being disempowered. What beliefs, emotions, and attitudes would, support my empowerment, and would beliefs, emotions, and attitudes and behaviors will support my disempowerment. And according to the relationship with myself, me being empowered and me being disempowered, how the relationship with my partner, my family, and my friends would change and transform. Everything starts within ourselves. If we are in pain, if we are in self-love, and we don't look inside, we will keep on projecting that pain on the outside until it becomes so loud and clear that we are forced to come back to square one and finally take charge of whatever is happening on the inside. Whatever is the currency that you are exchanging within yourself is the currency that you will experience with the others, because as I've said at the beginning, there's only one reality, and that's the one that gets filtered with your beliefs, emotions, and personal perceptions. And if personal perceptions come from past abuses, from narcissistic abuse, is the time when you feel ready to revisit those past abuses and outline an imaginary line, boundaries that can distinguish what they did to you from your true value, your authenticity, your power, your voice that have always been there. What these past traumas contributed is just to stop the connection. That's why you feel powerless. That's why you feel helpless. That's why you feel hopeless. So this is my video for you today that talks about, stop looking for love in all the wrong places and find a way to look inside, to acknowledge the pain, and to transform the pain into a flower, into a beautiful energy that in the name of love can transform your life, can transform your relationships, and finally fulfill your dreams and allow you to access a life with abundance, freedom, a sense of liberation, that you can literally abandon the burdens from your past and allow you to be who you are. And that's, for me, probably the most important gift that I could get from my journey, allowing myself to be who I am. Trust me, so liberating. And I hope, because I love what I do so much, to empower many more women and of course men, but my practice is more, targeted towards women. Just empower them to really walk on the same path I walked, regaining the courage, the power of agency and control over their life, with the belief that they can make it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Many more videos will come through in the next few weeks around the same topic, about empowerment, about finding and awakening internal resources to really accomplish whatever we want to do in our life. So I send you my love, a huge, huge hug to you all, and I'm sure we'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much for listening.